As times changed through the history of humanity, the degree of free will each culture and society wanted and had varied. In ancient times, people gave all of their freedom in exchange for the belief in a divine being. Later on, a divine entity wasn't enough for humanity. Humans wanted their whole freedom back through the sciences and their logic. The belief that humans can alter and change history individually has become a widespread belief in itself. So once again, humans were ready to abandon free will for a new belief, and in its essence, it was the same or a similar idea. Humans believe in something, that thing becomes outdated, so they want to have control over their lives, abandoning that belief. So it's the same loop, again and again and again. All of this just to be able to believe that one's will is free. Free will, as defined by many thinkers and philosophers, is the freedom to will, to have either complete control over your life, or at least a degree of control. You want to turn right? You will. You want to turn left? You will. And in its broad sense, everyone, or at least most people, believe that their will is free. So, are you free? When you are an adult, you choose what to eat, where to eat, what to learn, where to work. Or is your life determined? When you were a kid, you didn't choose what to eat, what to learn, or where to learn. It's an idea that has always been living with me. Free or not free. I put it to rest for quite some time, as we leave most ideas puzzling us in this internet age. Until lately, as I have been scrolling through the internet, I saw the second richest man in the world at the time delete his own tweet on his own platform. It was the same man who claimed that he will save and allow free speech by buying Twitter. He claimed that he will allow free speech against the belief of that same platform. But once again, the same man who claimed that people are free to practice their will on the platform cannot practice his own free will on his own platform because, once again, of a belief. The belief of a collective society. The question thus once more came to mind: what degree of free will does anyone have if your culture and society impose their beliefs on you? Your lack of choices begins early on. It begins at birth. It was not your choice. Before you even uttered your introduction to the world, or even the first glimpses of a complete idea, you started consuming what would be your production later. And by the time you start moving your feet, you are told where to go and what to do. You had no choice. Your parents wanted kids. Not as many as they might have ended up with, or not as scarce as they turned out to be. But they wanted kids. Their need for more comfort, more love, more companionship, more fulfillment maybe, is what gave birth to you. So you carry a burden. Whose burden and what burden? You are yet to figure out, but there is a burden to carry. Your clothes are chosen for you, where you sleep, with whom to play, what words to say. The burden translates to, in your young age, as pressure. You naturally judge them for whom they are, and what they force you to be. And you are free to judge them, because that's all you have control over at your young age. Judging others based on your free instinct. Their culture pressures them to make a new product. It's what society expects of them as parents. It expects them to create another container of that culture. But you give them a hard time, because you can. A kid's thoughts are his own, as chaotic and messy as they are. They can't make them abide by an algorithm. You become a problem for your parents, and its immediate solution is a phone. Give that phone enough time with a kid and it's now in control. A new culture and society added, and a new burden to live with. This might be too heavy to carry for a kid, but no one is listening, neither parents nor the people on the screen. Time goes by. The kid becomes a teenager, the intersection of free will, where you have to be ready to take a specific turn to drive your life in. The time when the switch is flipped. As a kid, you were easily told what to do and you did it because you had no choice. As a teenager, you mingle in the middle of both, and by the time no one can tell you what to do, you don't realize that your thoughts have taken a certain shape from the beatings of culture and society. You start becoming an adult. The freedom that adults display is a dream of many kids, but it's just surface level freedom. Adults seem to do whatever they want whenever they want, and no one can tell them anything. As kids, you can't wake up on a Tuesday morning and go to the beach on your own. You have your parents' rules to follow. You are a product. A product that had to be in perfect shape and form before being delivered to the culture and society. So your parents' control is for quality, or so they say. This control feels like torture when you compared it to the freedom of adults when you were a kid. As you became an adult, you had your freedom to choose. It's your choice where you work, the clothes you wear, the food you eat, and even the movies you watch. You want love, so you pursue it. It might turn out well, or heartbreaking. Either way, you wanted love and went for it. That love can lead to kids, planned or not. Your need for more, either to fill in the empty spots or to extend your connection with their partner because of how good they are. The need for more comfort, more love, more companionship, more fulfillment maybe, gave birth to them. Now, you carry another burden. Whose burden this time? Yours. It's true that you can do whatever you want, but you can do it the way you want. Your thoughts have been shaped in your childhood and your teenage years. You weren't given the freedom to choose whether to go right or left in your teenage years. It was more of a fight in the intersection of free will, because everyone was telling you which way to take. Your parents, the people on your screen, and the man who once told you on your way to school when you were 15 that wearing skinny jeans is feminine. They all claim that the way is theirs, and that you should take it. And you probably took the words of one group as the right sign, because it fit you. The more the time goes by, the heavier your burden gets. You feel confined. For how long are you supposed to carry this chain? Breaking free from this burden isn't as easy as it was when you threw a tantrum when their burden was too heavy. The burden of your parents on you, that is. Now, your burden feels much heavier. Because a kid's actions are controlled, it is accepted that they would break free from time to time. But you are an adult now. A man should be strong, and a woman should be independent. They will tell you if you complain. You want to quit the job you hate and pursue what you love. The society thinks that you will starve, and if you have kids, you will be selfish. You want to stay in your job and accept it. Your soul pleads that you are burying yourself, so you give yourself a distraction. Your phone. Now, different cultures and ideas come crashing on your shoulder, and that slight opening where you could have broken free is filled. Time goes by. The more the years go by, the more you lose awareness of how your thoughts are still being shaped by your culture and society. By the time the shaping is done, you have grown old. You feel that the culture and society don't matter to you anymore, and it's true because you are both of them now. You are the shaping force. The choice you made became the norm of your society and the culture that defines it. You are now the choice for your own kids, or a 15-year-old passing by wearing skinny jeans. So what do you think? What are you going to tell the kid? Will the person you have become at the time tell him they are feminine? Or will he ask him about how his day is going? Understanding culture is defining culture. So what of our cultures should we define? The one we grew up in, with our parents and their society, or the one we have been introduced to through the phone at an early age? Defining the first one is observing and analyzing our habits and actions, how we respond to life when life praises or curses. A common first indicator of that culture that most of us share is anxiety. You shouldn't wear this because of this. You shouldn't say this because of those. You shouldn't play with that because of them. The culture that has more reasons why you shouldn't do something than reasons why you should do things. The same culture of that man who told you what to not wear when you were 15. It's the culture that defines your early years. In other words, your early years are the definition of this culture. At that time, you knew more about what you shouldn't do than what you should do. You were given birth to, not because you wanted to, but because it's the culture, the norm. Take life as a car. This culture gave you the keys to your car. It might or might not have shown you how to handle that car, especially the car like the one they gave you. They taught you how to drive the car, although it was missing some parts, but you still have driven it. They showed you the road you should drive it on, but that's all they could control. It's your car at the end of the day, so you had whatever you wanted inside, and threw out what you thought was unnecessary. Their culture couldn't control how you think. A kid's thinking is arbitrary, and so is free will. The culture tried to control the arbitrary, but it failed. When failure was becoming apparent, you were given that phone, your introduction to the new culture, the culture that defines how you think. This culture takes off where the first one fails. In a way, this new culture can destroy the rest of your will because it hits the hardest in your teenage years when you don't know who you are. What little choice you have over the inside of your car. This culture tries to affect the intersection of your free will, or teenage years one would say is the start of the conflict that defines how much free will you will truly have. This mainstream culture, or the popular culture, dictates your thinking. It might reject your previous culture, claiming that it's controlling, that it tells you what to do and how to act. The culture of living for the screen and the material. It might offer the freedom of consuming different cultures through its screen, but the choice is always limited. You cannot stand on this culture because it does not provide solid ground. It provides nothing personal. It's the culture of becoming anything you want, but not any way you want. Your early culture pressures you to like what it likes and act how it wants you to act. But this culture tells you not how to act, but how oppressed and limited you are if you act according to what you have been told by the society in your initial culture. This culture is defined by manipulation. It's like having a car that drives you to work and someone tells you how bad that car is for the environment and how much better you will be without it. So you get rid of that car. Now, you either take a taxi, which is a car in itself, or the bus to work, and you feel good about it, even though they are vehicles as well. While your first culture shows no free will, this screen culture sells the illusion of free will. Back to where it all started. The owner of a social platform and one of the richest men in the world deleting his own opinion on his own platform. The same man who claimed that no beliefs should be imposed upon others is now telling people what to say and how to say it. That same man protects a different belief on that same platform now. He became the same man he criticized that platform owner of being. Censorship the definition of the internet culture you access through your phone. A culture defined by the needs of billionaires and politicians who believe that your freedom costs them a lot. Some of these people you encounter on these platforms are just devices, just like the phone you see them through, and mediums, just like the platform you encounter them in. These hollow idols have no culture. The food they serve never stops hunger. It's true that your first culture forced the car you have upon you, but it showed you how to drive. It's true that your first culture forced your first road upon you, but it couldn't change the color of your seats or choose the music that accompanied you. It controlled the outside, but the inside was yours. The screen culture affects the inside. It changes the music you listen to on your way. You do not play their music because you like it, but because by the time you were in the intersection of free will in your teenage years, the phone was there not to let you choose where you might want to go. Now, you are sitting in a red light, concerned not only about what road to take next, but also what music to play. If you take one road or the other, you will be accused of bad driving. When you take a look at the car from the outside, it looks damaged, so you might want to take the easy road. If you listen to the recommended music of the screen culture, you might believe that you need to leave this car behind to take the long road. Either way, and whatever road you take, both cultures will tell you that the choice was bad, even if the road is bumpy. Now, your initial culture wants you to go right with that car and its burden, but your screen culture wants you to leave your car behind, take their transportation along with others as lost and confused as you are, and go left. Which way is it then? The way of the right, the rigid, or the way of the left, the loose? They are both the predetermined path. So how is taking any of them free will? Taking one of them is taking the other. You might be free in them, but not according to your will. It will be the will of culture, a collective will, in which your voice will become another definition of how one should live. Going to the right or the left. Your car might still be in the intersection, even when you reach adulthood, and you still have your will. As long as the inside is yours, as long as the music that echoes inside is your choice, the will to get off the car, see its needs, what's lost, and why it's the way it is will eventually prevail, and the car will become better. There are others on the same intersection who would be willing to help you fix your car, and you can help them too. After the car gets running, it might not need to be in perfect shape, and the road ahead can be neither right nor left. The road ahead is straight. If you have the will to stop and fix the car, you can do without the freedom of the right or left, because there can be no degree of free will without a strong will, the will to be free.